So, yeah, hello, bonjour, salut, bonsoir, whatever, you know, all that jazz. Hello! As you can see, this is a video about the top 10 French houses. I'm not sure it's the top 10, it's just 10 French houses. My creativity is struggling at the moment. It's still fairly interesting, you know, it's not just a bag of filler, is it? Obviously we all know, really, I mean, France isn't the home of perfumery, but it kind of is now. It's where grasses, ingredients, where you know, if you don't go to the French school there, apparently you're not a proper perfumer. It's kind of monopolised, owned by France. You know, these monopoly laws and other very strict EU laws that kind of apply to all sorts of businesses don't apply to French businesses or French perfumery businesses. Yeah, there's obviously some of the most kind of greatest known heritage, biggest brands are all French. Some of the worst new brands are also allegedly French. But yeah, let's get into the video. So let's begin with a brand that's kind of synonymous with perfume. If you ask anyone in the world, even from places, you know, like ancient undiscovered tribes, the one brand they'd be able to give you is Chanel. Chanel is of course not just a perfume brand, it's a designer company, makes handbags and jewellery, and them little C's are the most expensive little C's ever. Now I'm not going to be critical of Chanel overly here. I think it's a fantastic brand. I'm not going to go through the history. Founded by Coco Chanel in the 1920s, taken over by a conglomerate who Chanel tried to have murdered by an evil organisation because she wanted it back because it was making too much money and she wasn't getting any of it. That's all kind of subjective apparently, and I'm sure I'll be banned from France now. But it's a fantastic brand. They tend to be a clever brand of bringing out a great formulation then reformulating them to not be quite as good. Chanel number 5 again would be that one perfume everybody in the world could name probably, but what I've picked is Coco Chanel. Chanel Coco, there you go. See, even I'm getting confused. Now this is it's kind of an 80s style one. It's kind of got this big vintage touch. It's cloves and flowers. It used to have a very kind of animalic grrr back in the 80s, back when that was popular. That's kind of gone now, which is a bit of a shame, but it is a beautiful fragrance. It exudes, I think it represents the brand really well. It kind of staying with the times. It was like a lot of 80s perfumes, but it had that Chanel class about it, that sophistication, that very kind of delicate French perfumery, although it was quite a big one actually, and it kind of stuck with what was around. They never kind of pushed themselves out there. They're not a wildly adventurous or interesting brand. I mean, I think it didn't Chanel number 5 come from something similar at the time. There's no criticism about that. Of course you're going to stick with trends, but I mean, it's lovely, isn't it? If you were looking for creative avant-garde masterpieces, Chanel's not the brand for you. But if you're looking for classy, elegant, easygoing, easily likable brand, then you're going to go for it. And it's one with age I've discovered I liked. I think the men's kind of basic line is trash. It's terrible. I mean, if you don't like generic citrus, there's not really one for you there. The original Chanel Allure Homme was good when it came out, reformulated into that generic kind of base. But yeah, that's Chanel. Next is the kind of, for me personally, subjectively, the greatest of the French brands. in the sense that I have the most from them. Oh, it's not that many. Might be the same as Chanel now, you know. No, I think it's a couple more. And that's Dior. Dior were like the opposite of Chanel. A bit more risque, putting something out a bit more interesting. That has of course reversed in modern times, where Dior now release, yeah, not exciting stuff. You know, the money Sauvage made them, pushed them in that Sauvage direction. You know, getting rid of like Miss Dior. I mean, that's gone through its changes, but it's completely unrecognisable. Dior Homme, the same. It's a generic woody, tedious, you know, aroma chemical soup, which, you know, anyone's gonna like. That's gone, and you know, you've got that's the fragrance I'm gonna pick as my kind of iconic Dior. Is Dior Homme, the original. Sounds stupid saying that, doesn't it? Well, this was woods, iris, musks, lavender. So I had this kind of allegedly, you know, iris had never been used in a male marketed. When we say male marketed, what we mean is this kind of way of forcing people to buy stuff, because of course fragrance doesn't have a gender. What anyone is going to tell me, it doesn't have a gender. People, you know, pre-20th century used to wear perfume. Men used to wear flowers, women used to wear leather. Do you know what I mean? It was complete gibberish, complete utter nonsense. But obviously capitalism is about, you know, targeted selling, putting you in a group and making you feel like you can only wear what you're told to wear, etc, etc. We're not going to get into that. But Dior Homme, yeah, with that iris kind of made it unique at the time. And it's just it's a magnificent fragrance. It's fresh, it's clean, it's appealing. Again, I don't understand why anyone wouldn't like it. I'm not saying that that's possible. Some people may struggle to wear iris, or like that kind of floral makeup-y, you know, violet-y iris that it is, which is fair enough. It's not for everyone. But I think it's just a very well done, great perfume. And again, shows that kind of thing about Dior, of pushing boundaries. Let's hope they do that again. Although Francis Kurkdjian, you may be mentioned later on, his stuff that we kind of all know is not adventurous, it's not pushing boundaries, it's not overly, you know, exciting or interesting. It obviously set a trend with Baccarat Rouge and that kind of synthetic soup kind of feel, and you know, hats off to him. But let's hope Dior go back to being interesting and exciting. So yeah, that's Dior. Next is Chloë, which is a brand I wouldn't say I know too much about. It's a fairly old brand now, isn't it? You know, it's had some great fragrances out and some very iconic ones. And my favourite, let me just get around this. This is this swamp is Chloë Love, which was discontinued. It's your iris violet one, iris violet rose and that sort of thing, with fruit. And it's kind of very beautiful, very elegant, and it goes along that path. It's not the same as all them ones out there. It's got its own kind of way about it. It's got a little bit of sharpness. It's just very beautiful, very classy, very elegant, which again Chloë do quite well, don't they? And they've been about through the decades. I've not really tried anything new to comment about where that brand's gone, but it is definitely a big, popular, more trendy for the youth kind of brand, Chloë, I think. And it still lives on, doesn't it? So that's Chloë and Chloë Love, what I've gone for that. Don't all need to be long. Then we have Frederic Malle, which I believe was conceived obviously by the man himself, Frederic Malle. Can't remember what he did, but he was some sort of businessman of some sorts, wasn't he? And he wanted to create brilliant, classy, elegant fragrances. So he worked with perfumers whose names are always on the bottles. It's almost like I don't know, I think he gives them kind of basic free reign to use what ingredients and whatever they want to create these great fragrances. Now it belongs to Estee Lauder. No, that ain't happening, is it? Here's 20 quid. Make me a fragrance we could sell for £2,000. Thank you very much. That's the way Frederic Malle will be. Sad. Is it the first one that I've mentioned that is owned by a conglomerate? No, Dior is as well, isn't it? There's always a kind of coincidental relationship to these brands being taken over and taking a nosedive, isn't there? But yeah, anyway, what am I waffling on about? Frederic Malle, I could have picked so many fragrances that I love from this brand, but I've gone for Musc Ravageur, and I'm talking about the perfumers. I do know, it'll be on the screen, but this one is like vanilla and cloves. Basically, there's a lot more going on in there. That's kind of what it is. It's not dirty, it's not a gourmand, but together it has this kind of carnal, sensual feel about it. The musks work magically with them cloves and give it that kind of relationship we have with clove perfumery, like, you know, the 80s and the 70s, and it having like an edge, and it's just a really beautiful fragrance. And the vanilla and that kind of feeling, it is so much that it almost just teeters on a gourmand, like you're getting jiggy in some custard or something, you know, and rolling about in some cake. It's got that kind of feel about it. Frederic Malle, again, one of my favourite brands. We all know what's going to happen to it, and it's sad, isn't it? But it's a shame that, you know, with this protectionist kind of thing, France doesn't stop this. But it is what it is. So yeah, that's Frederic Malle Musc Ravageur. So yeah, next is the French perfumery heritage brand. They have about 4 million fragrances. Again, we'll all know Guerlain. Very old. The people obsess about this pointless kind of, is it a designer, is it niche, is it, who cares? It's a very old French brand, and it's still going now. It has lots and lots of new lines. They have a very expensive line, a more affordable line, a kind of sit in the middle, very expensive line. It is one of the greatest fragrance houses without doubt, isn't it? But that is going to soon change. In fact, I think it already has. Now it's kind of a LVMH owned. The bottom line is all that matters, and extracting as much money from the name as they possibly can while spending no money whatsoever on it. But again, Guerlain has so many big ones over the years. Shalimar sticks out as a kind of iconic one. That invented the so-called offensively named Oriental or ambery fragrance, as we call it nowadays. That kind of vanilla spicy, isn't it? And yeah, so again, they've shaped the perfume industry. Nowadays, they all kind of smell of almond and vanilla and tonka on a kind of rolling thing. They've all kind of blended into one. It's not one of my favourite brands out there, but I can still respect it. One of them that doesn't smell exactly the same as the basic Guerlain is La Petite Robe Noire Black Perfecto, which is cherry and leather predominantly. A little bit of muskiness in there, that sharp kind of fruity feel in there, with a powdery kind of notes and the little smooth leather. Just make it a kind of very sensual, very enjoyable, very lovable one. If you've sniffed many Guerlains, you know it's quite risque for them. It's saying something, isn't it? But it is, and it's an interesting one, and it's very likeable. And whether that kind of influenced Lolita Lempicka and things like that, or whether they released, you know, influence or whatever, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's a very beautiful, very sensual, enjoyable fragrance. So that was for the once great house of Guerlain, Le Petit Robe Noir Black Perfecto. Next is kind of my starter niche, my favourite kind of step into the world of very fine French perfumery, and that's Kilian. Well, I've picked his Angel Share, but we'll go into that in a minute. Yeah, Kilian, obviously the creation, the baby of Kilian Hennessy, who with his charm, wit, charisma, obviously created this brand around him, with some brilliant perfumers such as Calice Becker is probably the most kind of synonymous person with it, the person we most associate with many of the very famous ones, and it's great. And they created these kind of sensual, soft, delicate but interesting florals. All the fragrances, generally speaking, were delicate and interesting, and just again that soft, elegant, that kind of sweeping of a paintbrush, a watercolour creation of perfumery. Whereas obviously I still think that works in modern perfumery, but they're not brave enough to do it. Now it's a rollerball, isn't it? And slapping it on, so you know, you don't appreciate the fine lines or delicacy in perfumery anymore. It's all a big splodge of paint that you can see from 45 miles away. That's modernity, I suppose. But anyway, yes, I fell in love with so many of the fragrances, and the old ones I will always love. But it kind of, as they became more Estee Laudered and more moving into cheap, generic kind of stuff, yeah, it was well knocked off. I've tried some of the newer ones. There's a time you used to get excited, isn't there? Not now. You know the guff, you know they're not interested, you know the kind of generic, and the use of the more molecular stuff is taken over. But yeah, I've picked Angel Share because I think it's the last of the decent ones, but also the death of the brand, if you like, because there were flankers before Angel Share, but Angel Share had a flanker, what, less than a year after it came out? It was massively successful because, again, Kilian and Mr. Hennessy obviously has quite a relationship with brandy and booze, and it was beautifully done, fantastic. One of them fragrances that were hyped, that was really good, and now there's about loads of companies have copied it. You know, if it was supposed to be so similar to Ojan, why they copying Angel Share? So it's not really. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's elegant, woody, boozy kind of. Well, it's Angel Share, isn't it? It's that kind of smell of the wood, the brandy-soaked wooden barrels. So it's gorgeous. I can't criticise it, but with it being not adventurous, not interesting, and doing so well, that lit the spark of, we can release this kind of not very creative stuff and rake it in. And that, for me, was the end of Kilian. And obviously, like we say, the reformulations that nobody will admit are reformulations, even though they don't smell anything like, they kind of smell like a bad clone of the old versions or a washed out version, whatever. I mean, money rules, doesn't it? I suspect that eventually I can see Kilian Hennessy being the sort of guy who's going to get miffed at what's become of his brand, and we might see like a, you know, how Joe Malone's done it. I think one day we can see maybe moving back into this elegant luxury. That's what he wanted to create, luxury, the feeling and the perception of luxury. You know, even the travel sizes were classy and elegant, and now you look at them, they come in just basically a paper box slapped in a black bottle. There you go. All the coffrets have kind of gone, or they haven't, but you have to pay vast amounts extra for them and stuff. They've stripped the brand They've put the prices up ridiculously. It's Estee Lauder. Estee Lauder's Kilian, and yeah, I am bitter and sad because obviously I love the brand, and it's one of the things that kind of facilitated my journey. So yeah, that's Kilian's Angel. Next is Maison Francis Kilian, obviously from the great perfumer himself, obviously very famous for making Le Malle, and of many others he's had his little fingers in creating. And MFK, I think, were always very popular. I mean, my choice is Oud Satin Mood, we'll go into that in a minute, but you know, certain big ones like Baccarat Rouge, the gentle fluidities are quite popular, Petit Matin. It's that classic fine French perfumery, not perhaps Baccarat Rouge, but again, you can't knock Baccarat Rouge. It was, you know, the sort of, this is what we can do with synthetics, look how good it can be. Now, not everyone can cope or deal with them synthetics, but it doesn't take away the what Baccarat Rouge is, and it's obviously set off a trend which every single designer house and every single niche house has their version of, which again, we're not going to get into this kind of don't like clones. Yeah, but you buy all these other whatever, we'll leave that there. So yeah, Oud Satin Mood is like this dark goth violety powdery rose. I'm more familiar with the extrait where the oud is kind of, or oud note or chord, whatever, it's kind of like a thin vein through it, and it kind of, it's not in the base, it's more in the middle with a powdery violet and rose surrounding it with the kind of the more different woods that sit at the bottom, and it's big and it's bold and it's classy. There isn't any really quite like this, which is unusual, isn't it? Obviously there'll be more and more copies of it come, but yeah, that's my favourite. Like I say, the gentle fluidities, which had to change their name because they were originally planned to be gender fluidities, kind of shows the whole problem with the perfume market. Let's not upset angry little men. It's always men, isn't it? Let's not upset these angry little people who are scared of you know, modernity and future and accepting people and differences. Anyway, that's by the by. This video is very angry. But yeah, MFK is a great house, and it has something for everyone. It has such a mixture of different genres, different fragrances, from the freshies to the heavier oudy ones to the synthetic sticky choking ones like Baccarat Rouge. It's interesting, and I think that's something else. Hats off to Mr. Kilian, is his mixture and his use of synthetics and naturals together, and generally his delicate, like we were talking before, paint strokes of synthetics that aren't too much. In a lot of them works beautifully. What he does with Dior, we'll wait and see, but I mean, I'm going to be honest, I was not one of them who was excited by it being him taking over. He's certainly a very well-known nose, a very talented man, but not one known for his interesting, risk-taking kind of stuff. Well, that's not to criticise it. So yeah, anyway, that's MFK, and I picked Oud Satin Mood. This fragrance video was meant to be really short and brief. It's not going to be. So next is, quite simply, one of the greatest ever designer houses, if not the best that's ever existed. And this is something else again about French perfumery. They're like French art and French fashion is bold and risk-taking and chancy and edgy and magnificent, isn't it? So Thierry Mugler having a brand, Angel, changed the world of perfumery again. That first kind of sort of gourmand, that kind of patchouli sweetness that hadn't really been used much before, that just again changed everything. And then the fragrance, obviously I'm going to pick Alien this weird flower that nobody had ever smelt. This mixture again of synthetics and natural, kind of taking jasmine into another way, bold, different, really stood out, really unusual. The musks are just oof, you know, this kind of edgy, slightly different take on the white musk, not that the pure clean laundry kind of feel about it, this kind of different direction with it. The cashmereans to give it a bit of body, not like nowadays what cashmereans just used as the note, you know, to make it stick to you for 70 years. It was all clever, and it was all interesting and exciting. And then I'm not going to waffle on about, because how many times have I spoken about this, but yeah, that was Alien. And then it was sold to somebody who didn't do the worst job with it. I can't remember who owned it before. They changed it. You know, the flankers became more and more popular, and then it went to L'Oreal, who yeah, took some laxatives, and it left their bowels in the toilets, and that's what we're left with now. This generic nonsense, which has no relationship to the old brand that Mugler was. It's flankers that have nothing to do with the original at all. Flankers are flankers. They're trying to appeal not to a different audience. I said, well, they're trying to appeal to a new youthful audience. No, they're not. They're trying to release generic crap that's popular in other brands and kind of copy that, and just sell on the old name, hoping the older people, whatever, will just go, well, we'll try this because we used to love them. And then the new people have no idea that Mugler used to be a wildly creative, fantastic brand. Anyway, that's Mugler's Alien. I've got to stop that there. 4 hours long. And finally, we'll end it on a high, is a new but not new brand. And that is Maison Violet, which is a group of people who went to university together, friends, as one might call them, and they rebirthed this ancient, well, old French brand, which was famous for making its Nuit Bleu soap, which is actually the fragrance I've picked, and all these brought to life all these new old formulations, with the help mainly of the great perfumer Natalie Lawson. And they also have the cycle ones, which are really quite interesting and really good. These kind of one-off ones that you can refill forevermore. Yes, it's a fantastic brand. And what you can tell about it is, even though they've kind of got these vintage styles and what have you, and the more modern kind of styled air unapology or whatever it's called, is these people love fragrance. They chuffing love the fragrance. They have a passion for the brand, and they have a passion for old, beautiful, classy, elegant style French perfumery. I've picked Nuit Bleu instead of Poupée because Nuit Bleu is it's a fresh, bright citrus. It's a clean, soapy iris. It kind of goes with the soap. It's uplifting. It's vibrant. Actually, I mean, I'm in a big coat, as you could probably tell from my shadow. This is t-shirt weather. It's only 9 degrees, but it feels about 50. I think the sun is hot. And yeah, it's just that kind of, not cologne style, but that, you know, elegant French citrusiness, you know, where it's clean and classy, and you think of brands like Chanel with that, and that kind of signature of French perfumery. Fantastic Nuit Bleu, fantastic house, Maison Violet, and I look forward to the future with them. I hope we find some more old kind of formulas, and we get some proper old vintage stuff brought back to life and modernised. It gives hope for the future of perfumery, doesn't it? You don't really get many new brands from France. It's kind of monopolised, isn't it? So it's good to see this. However, wait till the conclusion. So yeah, that's, sorry about that, you got shot at my chin there. That's Maison Violet, Nuit Bleu. So yeah, I didn't realise I was so passionate about this topic. If you remember when I started, I was just like, yes, you just want to fill it. But I think because French perfumery is the standard bearer, that's it. and kind of, there are loads of new different styles, thank God, and perfumers who didn't go to a French school, thank God. So creativity is coming out there, and there are some, you know, creative French brands coming along, but there are also some truly awful French brands coming out. I know it's subjective, and I'm sure some of you love these. Aren't Initio and Perfumes de Malle considered French? Well, I say considered French, I suppose they are. Pardon? What they are is, you know, the stuff we had for years and years and years, which are called so-called Middle Eastern fragrances, which like use really cheap materials. No criticism, why wouldn't they make money? You know, these are like basically fragrances you'd find in a marketplace or a supermarket, and they became really big, and then birthing out of them, I can't believe these words coming out of my mouth, are French brands who use all these highly synthetic, highly brain melting stuff, like I was talking about before with the rollerball. They don't even bother with the rollerball, they just get the tin of paint and chuck it all at you. Loads of synthetics to make it last for 40 years, kind of copy the ideas of whatever's popular out there, make it be able to be smelt 50,000 miles away, and that is what they call perfumery. This slapdash heavy, almost anti-French perfumery, anti-delicate, elegant, classy perfumery. Smells like stuff, there's no originality, there's nothing got anything to do with nature. You can barely actually smell the fragrances because all they are a big gloop of stuff. Let's hope and pray that is not the direction of perfumery for the future. It clearly is now, and again, it wouldn't surprise me if these brands use things like AI to, you know, this is popular, what's the cheapest materials we can use, scoop it all in a bottle and sell it for 300 quid. But the reason you get away with that is send loads of free bottles to loads of schmucks who'll promote it on their channel as fine perfumery, and then, you know, that kind of thing where we're all influenced by stuff, aren't we? And there you go. Hopefully not the future of French perfumery. We started with, you know, the greatest and the most well-known ones for being classy and elegant, for lasting generations. I don't think these new brands will. There are other good new brands out there, again, with that kind of marrying of old elegant French style with synthetics and stuff, such as L'Orchestre de Parfums, Matière Première. People creating something new and interesting and different, but balancing the modern and the old. So there's a future there. This video was so bloody obnoxious from me, and I even feel a bit snobby, but I'm only being honest, subjective. What about you? What's your favourite French perfumer? For perfume brand, who's your favourite French perfumer? Do you think French perfumery is still the best? Are you worried and disturbed that brands like, I mean, I know you may love them because the beast mode and stuff, and people, we're all entitled to love what we love, but do you really want that to be the future of perfumery? Enough of me going on. This video was supposed to be about 15 minutes long. It ain't, is it? I know it's not. But thanks for watching. Bye.